Today, I will share with you a few thoughts regarding the role of CTO, the typical challenges and expectations, and the tools and methods CTO should consider. To begin with, let me narrow all the variety of development organizations to these four basic types. Early-stage startups. Their task is to create a proof of concept and take it to MVP. They consist of 3 to 5 founders and early hires. Some of them are techies. Scale-ups are busy enhancing their MVPs and enriching them with new features. Normally, scale-ups comprise 5 to 20 engineers. Then we have a classic software house. These guys build, or let us say so, replicate something known. They have a number of simultaneous projects in order to stay afloat and pay salaries to 20 plus developers. Finally, an actively innovating and researching organization. Such a company has to serve its existing customers and continue researching something new. It employs more than 20 engineers. Now I will explain the structure and roles in these organizations. An early-stage startup, as I have said, consists of 2 to 5 founders and early hires, sometimes probably a bit more. Among them, we have a business guy, a sales guy, a front-end, back-end, and database developers. Often, one and the same person wears 2 or more hats. Full-stack developers were born in this environment. An early-stage startup is a productive chaos. Vision is more important than planning, no matter what mentors say. Because it is a short-distance run, and all plans and structures can be maintained in the founders' heads and communicated orally. It can last from 3 to 6 months. 1 year seems to be too long to get this team to success. The focus is on proof of concept and ideally some initial market traction. The chicken hoopoe has to get out of the egg before the egg goes bad or is eaten. Why hoopoe? Well, let's take it offline if you are really interested. Now our startup has grown to the next stage. The scale-up has got a clear structure with CEO, CFO, and our CTO now manages 7 departments. In reality, some of them consist of 1 person only, but the formal division of the responsibilities is in place, and we see the product team, the front-end team, back-end database, QA teams, DevOps, and support. A clear structure, though some positions are still empty. Planning becomes important. Who is doing what and when? Planning is needed for budgeting, and now it's a marathon, not a sprint. The focus is on coordination and clear procedures. That's exactly this time to establish them, because people can no longer hold all the knowledge in their minds. Otherwise, we risk creating too much of a dependency on someone who can simply control all the IP or become a bottleneck. In a classic software house, we have the structure that allows growing parallel teams, but if and only if coordination and procedures work well. The responsibility of CTO now is to manage 3 divisions: product, development, and deployment. In product, we have product managers, business analysts, and system analysts. In development, we have teams based on their specialty and led by team leaders, and also QA. In development, we have DevOps and support. The focus now is on automation and simultaneous projects. A software house cannot stay afloat if it fails to secure a bundle of simultaneous projects. The marketing and sales teams work hard on making the funnel productive. and the development organization has no right to screw up. Here we can and must start thinking of KPIs. In the most basic form, we need to measure team velocity. For now, to keep things simple, let's understand it as a number of tasks completed by the team within a given period of time. Then deployment frequency, either to production or to test environment, depending on the work stream. And the third one is fail percentage. Again, for simplification for now, let's see it as bugs versus tasks. These numbers can help us understand efficiency of our teams. But what happens if we have a big organization that needs to continuously support existing customers, create new projects, and support new customers, and at the same time wants to research something absolutely new? The answer is in combination of an early stage startup advantages with the structure of a classic software house. We inject a research unit built up by a few developers of all our specialities, back and front and mobile, database, whatever else is needed, and DevOps, and ideally an architect. They all should be very senior and experienced, and thus they run their inner startup-like activity inside a big organization. The research unit is given high-level requirements, and their research is limited in time. That's important. For example, they are asked to create a prototype within a month. So they are given a limited period of time to either prove it is doable or vice versa. Think of it as feasibility studies as well. When the prototype is ready, it is given to, so to say, regular project managers and developers for planning the work of feature enrichments and eventually for working this plan. Thus, we have continuous integration / continuous deployment running full speed, and we can measure now lead time. In other words, we can forecast and plan the time from idea to proof of concept, and then to MVP, and then to version 2 and 3, and so on. I can explain the general role of CTO in the following parable. Put an egg into the nest to hatch a unicorn. Practically, this means 6 aspects. 1. Productization. When the organization is big enough, product managers, BAs, SAs help CTO with this function. Until then, it's the responsibility of CTO to capture and formalize high-level requirements, also known as a scope, and then extend them into detailed functional specification or requirement, software requirement specification. There is a number of titles in the industry, but they all take us to the same long, detailed explanation of each feature, each screen of our app, or each page of our website, their connections with the other screens and pages and user stories. Research. Research is the function of architects and the research unit, or CTO, if these guys are not yet on board. Research should result in a technical design, including the component and flow diagrams, data structures, API methods, but also a working prototype. Management is the function of PMs and team leads, or again, it falls on CTO if the organization is too small. Amongst many tools and techniques of management, I would like to emphasize one-to-ones with developers. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned, but I still believe in relationship and devotion. Hence, one-to-ones are important to understand what the problem of each team member might be, what expectations are, and so on. Planning should be based on KPIs and start from a longer perspective, from year or 2 years or Q1, Q4, and down to weekly plans. Each week's tasks are sliced into Jira tickets or Trello tasks or yellow post-it notes. The tool is less important than the philosophy of planning itself. As we grow bigger, we need to provide transparency to the top management. Something in the form of a helicopter view report to see how we follow our plans, but also with an option to drill down to explore what every single developer is doing now, or did last week, or will do next week. I should mention daily stand-ups must be really short to reflect the original nature and meaning of a short meeting on feet rather than a long stand-up show run by one actor. I like end-of-day short email reports, 2-3 lines maximum. These help with discipline, which is more important in our work-from-home reality these days with self-discipline. It's important to teach our teams to draw a line and summarize today's activities, clearly separating working time from leisure time and staying focused during the working hours. The more so, developers in distributed teams often benefit from flexible schedules and can start earlier or later. Weekly status reports per teams or projects are good for top management to be able to print them and take them offline, probably to think over during the weekend, which means these reports shall be provided on Friday evening rather than Monday morning. HR, the last but never least. I believe in hiring for a proper mindset rather than for skills only. Smart people can learn. This is what makes them smart. Assessment of candidates is a separate topic for another long conversation. I usually ask candidates to provide written answers to my 10 questions. There are no 100% correct answers and cannot be. My questions help me understand their mindset, ability to solve problems, and readiness to spend an hour or two writing those answers, which is an indicator itself. Thank you and all the best.